Welcome to the newest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. We've got a lot to cover in today's video recapping the weekend from Indianapolis, including Kyle Busch's 700th Cup Series start and what he had to say about it during media availabilities, plus what he had to say on Friday about Corey LaJoie while appearing on the Pat McAfee Show. Cup Series qualifying and an interesting exchange that happened between Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott, an Xfinity Series race that was a thriller and featured 3 passes for the lead on the final lap, and finally the Brickyard 400, which had both Elliott and Blaney going ballistic at different points of the race, with Kyle Larson winning at the end in a controversial finish. However, before we get to that, let's first go back to Friday and Kyle Busch's appearance on the Pat McAfee Show. In case you missed it, Busch didn't hold back when talking about what happened between him and Corey LaJoie at Pocono last Sunday.
He texted me and then he called me. I didn't even reach back out because he changed his story 4 times. So I'm like, you're just a liar. Like, you wrecked me. Like, I get it. It's fine. Whatever. Payback's coming.
If you watched my midweek video last week, I said I didn't think this was over. Busch confirmed that on McAfee. Now it's just a matter of when he decides to respond. More on that in a few minutes. Moving on to Saturday and the Xfinity and Cup Series practice. I've been happy so far with NBC's coverage since the switchover from Fox, but I have to say what happened this weekend was not good. And I know I wasn't alone because I saw numerous others complaining about the same experience on social media. I tuned in to the NBC Sports app to watch Xfinity Series practice after some initial issues I got it to work. I figured Cup practice, which was on right after, would be no problem. I was wrong. I kept receiving a re-authentication error and didn't get the app working until almost halfway through Cup practice, and only after I had to log out and re-authenticate myself. I know it's where we are as a society with streaming services. I get it, I've adapted to it. But it should work without any issues, period. But it didn't. I hope it was just a bug for this first time and they get it worked out. I promise you I'll definitely be paying attention in a couple of weeks when we return to racing action. Also on Saturday, drivers met with the media, and Kyle Busch, on the eve of his 700th career Cup Series start, was understandably not in the greatest of moods after qualifying 34th behind both Dillon brothers, Ty qualifying 22nd and Austin 11th. Listen to this exchange with reporters.
I know you said yesterday that you hadn't talked to LaJoie, so just want to check, have you talked to him?
Nope.
In the last day? And you said payback is coming. How would that be? I guess there are a lot of ways to pay somebody back, just not giving them room or taking them out. Can you expand on that at all?
Nope.
You think he wrecked you on purpose? Like that he was sending you, or he just messed up when he was trying to bump you? Or?
I don't know. Ask him.
Is there any concern about you saying publicly like you're going to do retribution or anything like that, and putting it out there so NASCAR knows?
It is what it is.
Speaking of qualifying, there were a couple of things of note that happened, and both of them involved Chase Elliott. The first occurred during the 2020 Champs' first round run when he laid down a solid lap but admitted the result was unexpected because of what happened as he made his way around the 2.5-mile circuit.
How about you, Chase Elliott? About busted my ass, so that was surprising.
Elliott's time was good enough to advance to the second round. But before that second round, Elliott was walking down the track as a couple of members of Tyler Reddick's team jogged by going the opposite direction. Soon after they passed, the HMS driver glanced behind in their direction, picked up something off the ground, and then handed it to Denny Hamlin. The 2311 Racing co-owner explained to NBC what happened.
And then finally we saw an exchange between you and Chase on pit road of something. What was that?
Man, the stand-up guy, I guess one of the 2311 guys dropped a piece of paper out of their back pocket that had some information on it and handed it to me to give to those guys.
Those two have a history, including last year at the Coca-Cola 600. But that was certainly a nice moment to see even the fiercest of competitors respect each other and show some good sportsmanship. After qualifying, the Xfinity Series cars took to the track, and things got ugly early, like first lap early. That's because there was a massive pileup on the first trip around the track that involved multiple cars, including Sam Mayer, who started it all, as well as Jesse Love, Jeremy Clements, and Josh Berry. After my interview with Berry this past week, where we talked about his AM racing experience in week 1, and how they were scrambling early on and were laps down after a mistake at Pocono, week 2 turned out even worse. Definitely not a good barometer for the team to get an idea of where they stack up against the competition. As bad as the first lap was, the last lap turned out to be that exhilarating. However, before we discuss that final lap, I want to go back to that final restart with a dozen laps to go. Before the cars took the green flag, I want you to listen to what Shane Van Gisbergen and his team had to say about his strategy and how it included Austin Hill.
Yeah, I didn't want to follow that 91 on no tires. Yep, I agree with you. You know the 21, he'll bulldog on up there. Hope so. Follow him.
It was funny hearing those remarks, knowing their background, and how the two haven't seen eye to eye on a couple of occasions, including earlier this year at COTA and Sonoma. And the number 97 team called it right as Austin Hill did bulldog his way forward in that first trip around the track, and the Kiwi rode his tail almost the entire way before ultimately passing just before the start-finish line. SVG looked impressive in those final 10 or so laps and even acknowledged how comfortable he felt on the racetrack after getting some laps under his belt. He finished 4th, Hill finished 6th. SVG had a front row seat to an absolutely wild finish that included 3 passes for the lead, with Riley Herbst first passing his Stewart-Haas Racing teammate Cole Custer to move out in front before Eric Almirola passed them both. Herbst then made a move to get past Almirola, and it's one I can't properly describe. You just have to see it to believe it. Take a look.
Underneath Almirola, they make contact, and look at the save that Riley Herbst pulls off to win this race. Look at the steering wheel. Look how far to the right it is. That thing is sideways. I mean, Almirola out of the groove.
Yeah, that happened, and set the table for Sunday's race. In the Brickyard 400, Tyler Reddick jumped out to the lead from the pole, and in the first 10 laps, the first thing I was happy to see was the cars topping 200 miles per hour. Things got interesting when strategy came into play and Denny Hamlin was the first to pit 24 laps in, and the rest of the teams followed. The number 9 was one of those teams on pit road and got flagged for a commitment line violation on exit. Chase Elliott was absolutely livid after it happened. Listen to this.
I mean, what the fuck? Did they sit out the fucking sheet yesterday and do exactly what they fucking tell us to do? Did they show you the black flag? They didn't stay in line. They said racing surface, so you tell me how the fuck I was on the fucking racing surface. All right, focus forward. They're wrong. They're wrong. Focus forward. Nothing we can do now. In the future, if they're not black flagging you, don't stop till I get it worked out. No, they were black flagging me.
Remember, this was the second time in 2 weeks that Elliott got penalized on pit road. Last week at Pocono, he ended a 92-race streak by getting a speeding penalty. Interestingly, Elliott wasn't the only one upset and confused by NASCAR's officiating. Brad Keselowski got caught for doing the same thing a short time later. He was equally confused but much more calm in his response.
Copy. So either I don't know how to read or they don't know how to officiate, one of the two. Above the outside white line is considered the racing surface, so that is not what the email reads. Oh, sorry about this, guys. That's obviously my fault at the end of the day. I've been racing here for 13 years on the old one. You've been able to run out like that. Get an email the night before saying you can run out like that and then get a penalty for it. I don't even know what to say about that.
After Denny Hamlin won that first stage, the second stage began to provide us with a better picture of the strategies in play, as some cars pitted earlier than others, all trying to calculate how many more stops they needed to make it to the end. During that stage, Joey Logano was not happy with the blocking of Bubba Wallace and shared his thoughts over the team radio.
That's the only chance he gets. That's bullshit right there. Copy that. Back in your rhythm.
Ty Gibbs was also unhappy, not with someone else, but his race car.
And I don't know what the fuck I need to do better on restarts, but we suck. Can't do shit. Just suck.
More on the number 54 car in a bit. I had a feeling after one caution for incident in the first couple of stages, we were going to make up for it in that final segment, and we did. Martin Truex Jr. and Josh Berry were involved in one incident. Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson, and Ryan Blaney in another. Blaney's car, which got sideways, received minimal damage and continued on. Later in the third stage, Ty Gibbs had engine troubles. That made it back-to-back weeks for issues on the number 54 car after both Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin have experienced issues earlier this year. In the closing 20 laps, drivers were saving fuel and deciding when to go. You could tell they were saving fuel by the speeds. Remember how we were topping 200 miles per hour earlier in the race? Check out Brad Keselowski's number. Kyle Busch was running 6th when he got loose with 3 laps to go. Here's what the disappointed driver said over the team radio.
I just fucking said we need to finish.
Need to finish. He did, in 25th position. In that first overtime, there was a question of how Brad Keselowski, who was on the inside of the front row, was going to make it on fuel. He had pitted 10 laps sooner than everyone else, and his crew chief Matt McCall didn't sound confident the number 6 car could make it. He was right. On the restart, Keselowski's car stumbled, and he immediately followed the pace car down pit road. That meant Larson, who was in the second row behind the RFK racing car, pulled forward into the front row besides Ryan Blaney on the outside. As the lead cars passed the start-finish line and went into turn 1, the number 5 surged out to the lead when the caution came out for a massive pileup happening behind. The 2023 Cup Series champion was absolutely livid about NASCAR's decision or non-decision in this case.
That's fucking bullshit. No fucking way that he gets to jump up a row and I get fucked because someone runs out of gas. That's fucking bullshit. That is fucking bullshit, NASCAR, and you fucking know it. Y'all better change something.
He might have jumped the start there.
I don't give a shit. That's fucking bullshit. There's no way they should have let that go green. That's ridiculous. They just gave it to him.
It ain't over.
That's fucking over. I'm on the top. You gonna win from the top? Give it to fucking Golden Boy. Son of a bitch.
Yikes. And he said that without even knowing what was about to happen. After a red flag delay of 17 minutes, the cars reset to do it all over again. On that restart, Larson again pushed out to the lead. However, it wasn't Blaney who was his closest pursuer, but Tyler Reddick. After clearing turns 1 and 2 and heading toward the backstretch, Ryan Preece went for a spin and his car came to a stop. The Stewart House Racing driver attempted to get it going, but it wasn't moving anywhere. The tires were spinning. He was beached. Larson hadn't come out of turn 4 to take the white flag, and it was obvious the number 41 car wasn't going anywhere. Translation, a caution should have come out, but it didn't. Why? I don't know. NASCAR will have to answer that, but it was obviously a caution because after Larson took the white flag and before the field got back around to Preece, the yellow was put out. Honestly, all I could think when I watched that all transpire was Blaney's Golden Boy remark just moments before. In a day with various strategies playing out, the controversial ending marred what was, in my opinion, an otherwise good race. And it was definitely an unfortunate way for NASCAR to head off into the 2-week Olympic break. All right, guys, that's a wrap on this episode. We talked about a lot, and I want to get your thoughts. Let's start with the remarks of Kyle Busch on Friday and Saturday. Do you think he'll pay back LaJoie? As for Sunday, what did you think about the penalties NASCAR handed down to Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski for their commitment line violations? Who was in the wrong, NASCAR or the drivers? And what about that ending, including the first overtime restart where Keselowski ran out of gas and the second overtime when Preece went for a spin on the first lap, but NASCAR failed to throw the caution? And one final order of business. I want to announce the winner of the Chase Elliott Tumbler contest from my last video on Wednesday. And the winner is Gregory Zorn 7811. I'll reach out to you, Greg, with a comment on the original video. Remember, if you want to read my written work, go check it out at heavy.com. And be sure to check out my Beating and Banging podcast on the Blue Wire Network. Thanks as always for supporting the channel and have a great rest of your day.